know what it is. Black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
You know who it is. Black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
Odie, Mari, Sodi, Mari.
Mari Sodi, Mari Sodi.
Black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
Black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
Hey, oh.
Yes, Mo?
Are you ready?
Let's go.
Black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy. It's the Black and Snurdy podcast with Odie and Maurice.
Yo, yo, yo. I felt like...
Has that ever... Oh, no. Keep going.
No, you laughed. Now
Yes.
I feel insecure and I don't want to continue.
No, come on. All right. Fine. I will keep my mouth shut. I'll keep my mouth
Thanks.
shut.
Is that a promise?
That is it's not a promise. It's not a guarantee. It's a threat.
Threats are something that you don't want to happen.
Correct. Go.
Anyway, hello. Welcome back to another week of the Black and Snurdy podcast.
Black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy. I'm always going to do that.
I am your host, Odochi, aka Odie.
And I'm the other host, Maurice, aka just Maurice. I'm not going by anything else. Like some of my friends are like, "Hey, we're gonna call you Reese."
Is that how your friends talk?
That is exactly how everybody talks in my head, and it's just varying degree, and it's not even a gender thing. Like men sound like that too.
Well, good. You're, across the spectrum.
Yes, exactly.
So, Maurice, I have a question for you this week.
Ooh, this week's question. Hit me with that. Hit me.
All
with
right.
that
No, don't. Thank you. The question is, would you get involved with someone who has a child?
I'm not even sure if this is a... Actually, no. This is an interesting question. Yes. The answer is yes. I actually did have a relationship with somebody who had a child. I'm pretty sure when I was younger, I had a entirely backwards, sort of dumb idea, as I feel like most dudes do when they're coming up. It's like, it must be messy, it must be complicated. If you get involved with somebody with a kid, that's a lot of responsibility. Here's the secret. If they're single and they're mothers, guess what? They, for the most part, they're doing fine as far as like taking care of the kid. You know what I mean? Like most, at least a lot of single women that I have seen out in the world just know how to hold it down. It's like these dudes ain't loyal. These dudes are enough of them. So they just hold it down. And shout out to all the single moms who's holding it down. But yeah, if you're gonna date somebody and they have a kid, it's like that's fine. It's okay.
I think that you can hold it down while also still having a messy, weird relationship with your child's parent.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that they're mutually exclusive. Actually, I'm saying that both can exist, is essentially what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
They can, whatever the dynamic with the baby daddy, and they could still hold it down, and they could still date.
That's true.
Yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to bring any sort of nonsense to you. They want to date. Everybody wants to cuddle. Everybody wants companionship. So, yes.
Are you finished?
Yes, I am. Would you date anybody with a child?
I guess I have in the past. But I feel as if right now I'm on a no parent kick.
Is there a particular reason?
Well, I would say that the reason is pretty selfish.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to be like the main point of focus in someone's life, and this is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the main thing. I don't want to date a person who's going to make me a priority over their child.
Okay, I see what you mean.
So because to me, I'm like, if you have a kid, that kid should be your first priority.
Yes.
Really, even though I wouldn't be necessarily just because we're dating a stepmother to your child, I would still be wanting to make sure that your child was having, its best life possible, because like it's a kid and they should be always like, it's like when you're around your friends' kids, you always want to make sure they're having a great time, that they're having fun. if they're just enjoying life.
Yeah.
So I would have that like sense of kind of obligation in a way. And I don't think that that's like a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I think that like I'm currently want to be able to do things like, do we both have money to go on a random weekend trip to Costa Rica to go see some sloths? Then I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Because one,
that
I
first and
really
foremost,
fucking
that's
like sloths.
obviously that was the go-to example. It wasn't even just to go to Costa Rica. That would have been fine, but you specifically want to go see some sloths in Costa Rica.
Yes, because I'm obsessed with sloths.
I got sloths in Costa Rica.
And
Well, they're not going anywhere. You can
yes,
get
I
to
know.
them.
I can go get to them, but I still want to see them really badly.
Yeah.
And I'm not to say that you can do that obviously if you have a child,
Mhm.
but then there are sometimes, depending on, I guess also this depends on the wealth aspect of the person.
Mhm.
If you are a single parent who works for the DMV,
Mhm.
maybe you're not going to be able to always have, like, you're going to, like, the amount of time you're going to have to split and money you're going to have to split is different than if you're like Drake. Obviously, he can be able to go to Costa Rica and not worry about paying for his son's tuition the next week. So maybe that would be a factor.
Yeah. Okay. So the answer is no. This is a long way to say no. You would not date anybody with a child at this point.
At this point. So
Yes.
it's not a no forever. It's just at this point because I'm just wanting to be selfish and also just thinking of wanting to plan my life around me and that person and not plan my life around me, that person, and their child. Perhaps if I'm single in 10 years. I'm just single in 10 years. I think that I would be thinking about it differently because my what is the word? Priorities would have changed.
Yeah, but come on, let's be real. Like by the time that 10 years, not by the time, in 10 years, right? And I actually had this whole conversation with my father because I asked him, why is it hard? Like he wants to, actually, that's a confidential conversation. But the point that I'm making is in a decade from now, it'll be, I guess there's just going to be more likely that you meet somebody your age with a kid than not.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I'm trying to get
to. At this time, I'm 31. There are, and I'm just saying this as the people in my circle, there are a lot of people who don't have kids.
Yeah.
Because in my best friend group, none of us are married. Well, only two of my close friends are married and two of them have kids.
Okay.
But like and then I have a few other specks of like friends that have them, but like majority don't.
Yes.
So
you have a social circle is what you're saying.
Anyway, that, it's not that like, there are some people, their whole social circle has kids. So for them, it might seem more unlikely. But for me at this point, currently, I don't feel like it's like, and this probably is going to sound bad, I don't feel like I don't have any other options. As in like, in 10 years, more than likely, majority of the people that whether friend or not, more than likely will have had a child by that point.
Yes.
Versus now, where people are still trying to like get their lives together. Can you even afford a child? Like, you barely pay rent.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was the question I wanted to ask you. Just kind of like jump into the week a little bit.
That's fantastic. And I hope that I answered in a respectful way. Again, shout out to all the single people holding it down who are our age and older and younger. Like, shout out to all y'all.
If you're a single parent, that's really dope. And also, like, kudos to you because my mom was a single mom. For my whole, and I mean, my parents got divorced when I was like 6 or 7. And, that's a long time to have to be the primary parent. And, it's a lot of work. And they deserve people who are going to be able to, help them out in all ways. Because I do think if you're going to be with a single parent, you should be prepared to do all the things to make their life easier because they're stressed out.
Agreed. I agree with you.
But there are some other parents that are not so single.
Yeah.
in pop culture.
Oh, pop that culture. Pop that culture. There's going to be a drop here one day.
I hope so.
And it will have music to
Okay.
it. And yeah.
Yes, great. That's awesome. I look forward to it.
It was either going to be like the my neck, my back to pop culture or pee popping on a handstand.
And
pop culture on
moving along.
Yeah. Oh man.
So there's for one,
there's
the first thing that we have
gotta
to say before anything, and this is very unfortunate. We talked about this last week. That DMX had been in a coma following a heart attack, and on Friday he unfortunately passed away.
Yeah. So I just, there's been a lot of outpouring, on social media, all around, period, because, God called him home. He's at peace.
Yes.
So, R.I.P. to DMX, to his family, to his immediate circle. Any type of loss, it's hard on those who are left behind. So just, with all respect.
That like knew him in the industry, whether they were rappers, singers, of course he had a complicated life and had a complicated history, and everything that he did wasn't like, oh, this is amazing, but like I just felt like he had such a light around him. I love watching him pray and all these videos of him praying. I love watching him like be like joyful when he's like singing or when he was like playing with his orchids and talking. Like those things to me, like I found joy in those just throughout the years. But I think also growing up in New York, there is no way, like he was, when I looking at so many pictures, because like I had having to write up a story for him, and just like I realized that he was the blueprint of like not every, but like a majority of the guys that I liked.
Of course.
It was like he was the blueprint, and I did not realize until just now that he looks so much, or the crush I had in like 12 at 12.
I was about to say like no. The crush looked like DMX. DMX did not look like this 12-year-old boy in Long Island.
He looked like Noah, and I just like, wow, maybe that's why that was his name. It was Noah.
Okay,
so cute.
well.
But anyway, there's just like so many of those little things, and just I remember buying that album. It's Dark and Hell is Hot. And I mean, it was a bootleg one because I was 12 and I got it when I was getting my hair braided.
Obviously.
And it wasn't like my mom wouldn't let us play DMX, but we definitely weren't allowed to play. Like it would have been the singles on the radio and definitely the
clean version.
So getting this random album, and it was not the clean version at all.
Obviously.
It was definitely like, oh wow, okay, these are things that are being said.
Yeah.
But he still was just such a beautiful lyricist, and I'm glad that he got to get to the, to get his flowers. Seeing him in that verses was amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone just showing him so much love, and he looked so happy and healthy. And I just hope that his family, is able to be supported right now by the people that they need to be supported by, and all the Joanne the scammers and everybody is just like can be protected from them, or they're protected from them. But yeah. So, R.I.P. to him.
R.I.P. to DMX, man. And man, I am still tore up because my dad actually is the one who got me into DMX. He would bump that, I forget the album that it was on, but he would bump the They Don't Know. Man, oh man. And then of course, retroactively, I believe my sister definitely was we're from Baltimore. So of course, what these bitches want is our sort of
man, yes.
Oh man.
Oh, I just
asking the tough questions, what these bitches want.
And
man.
You want to know something else that I realized?
What?
He is the reason why I have a pit bull.
Yeah.
Because just the imagery of it, like always seeing him with those little cute little pit bull puppies. And I remember thinking like, I don't want them, they look so violent. But also when I got older, being like, no, I love them.
Yeah.
They're just subliminal messaging that I was getting from DMX, wanting to have a freaking motorcycle, even though I'm super scared of them. But just so much, I just felt like he captured so much like Black joy.
Yes.
Of like Black being, even though he's from Yonkers, being like
unapologetically himself.
Yeah.
Being vocal about his demons. And he was throughout it was very clear that he was spiritual.
Yeah.
Which I found refreshing because there is a level of complexity to DMX's story that has unfolded throughout his life. My main thing is just I'm bumping his music all the time. It's gonna be in my top 100 at the end of the year. It will continue to be. DMX, rest in peace, rest in power.
Yes. So now on to the shenanigans of the week.
Yeah.
So your boy Usher.
Okay, why is he my boy? Like, when did that happen? I don't even know. You better mean the royal
Just everybody's boy.
Yeah, everybody's boy.
So he was in a strip club named the Sapphire in Vegas, and I want to say there's a Sapphire in Manhattan. That's the first strip club I ever went to. That my job took me to there. It was like my first day. Like my coworker was like, "Oh, we're gonna take you. This is where we go, and people get hired." So yeah,
that's fantastic. Shout out to teachers. Anyhow, continue.
First of all, this was definitely not when I was working as a teacher. Ew. Well, not ew.
I was trying to get that off.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
continuing.
yes, because teachers can't want to.
Teachers do like strippers and stuff, but like they.
Anyhow.
Anyway.
Everybody loved the strippers, even Usher, apparently.
Okay, well, he doesn't love them that much because he was in the club throwing money up,
making it rain,
all that, making love in this club.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not making love, but he was throwing the money up. And
look, man.
Lo and behold, the girls came home and they realized those C notes actually had Usher's face and name on them.
So they were U-notes.
They were. I was gonna say U-notes, but I felt like
that was corny. Yeah, well, one of us was gonna say it, but either way. Yeah.
So this, I believe this is one of the women on Twitter, on Instagram. Her name is B Love, but like
I don't know if you need to say her name.
It's literally her name is. She's trending on social media.
Okay, great.
Do you think she put this up here so she didn't want people to know who she was?
I'm just saying, let's talk about the money aspect.
All right. Anyway, she posted in her story the picture and she said of the money, and she said, and the money does not have trade in value whatsoever. LMAO, y'all don't think he should be don't y'all think he should be blasted on social media for this shit? Yes, he should, because could you imagine being in a strip club and a celebrity comes in that is worth like hundreds or at least millions of dollars in whatever denomination or power calibration, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're throwing the money up. It's coming down. You're scooping it up into that little. Your friend has the trash bag behind you, scooping it up.
Of course.
And it's like fake money. It's monopoly money.
Yeah.
Like, I'm burning your shit down.
Yeah. You're gonna let it burn?
I'm gonna let it burn.
Yeah, you gotta let
it burn.
Oh my god.
Just gotta let it burn.
Yeah, you just gotta let it burn, man. You just gotta let it burn. The only thing that I'm gonna say is that first and foremost, like, I'm looking at the bills. That at the very least, the 20 looked pretty authentic. The $20 bill. If you forget the fact that Usher's face is in profile, like literally in the center, it kind of looks like an actual 20. So I can see how you could get confused in the dark.
Oh no, I would definitely get confused in the dark. I'm just like, why is it that you wasted money and trees to do this BS? Just give them. I hope he needs to give those women their money back. He needs to do it because that's reckless shit. That's you stole from them.
Yeah. Usher ain't shit. That was what I was trying to say.
Yes.
And guess what? Now I can curse again. Yay!
Now another one of Usher's friends who he's been on some songs with.
We really got to figure out these segues.
What? Do you need to interject at every moment? This is why the clock runs out, because you interject so much that I don't get to just continue on with what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely my fault. And
yeah,
I'll continue.
It is. Thank you.
Sure.
So, Sean, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy Combs, whatever he goes on by now. He basically wrote a letter to General Motors saying, you need to pay us if you love us, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And so this was on like Friday. It was over the weekend, I believe. So everyone on social media, on Black Twitter, was really confused because if you know Diddy, our fellow Howard Bison, even though he didn't graduate, they gave him an honorary doctorate.
Yes, HU, you know.
Yes, I know. But I had to pay a lot of money and time. And he only gave like $1 million to the school. It wasn't even like, anyway.
Yeah, it's my fault that we run out of time. Anyhow, continue.
Yeah, it is. Because you want to know what? All these things could be saved for when we listen back. Okay? I'm telling you that.
All right.
And the world is hearing.
Yeah, I know.
Continuing on that, everyone remembers how Diddy has created a slew of artists and bands and groups and all that stuff, right? But when you think about his bands and in the cultural zeitgeist, it's a running joke that he make people popular for like two or 3 years. They'll have a good run, and then all of a sudden he like somehow drops them like a hot potato for the new artist. Mace, what was it? O-Town, Making the Band. Like, whatever. Did they even have a name? I don't remember. I just always called them Making the Band. They were Making the Band like 3. It wasn't even the original Making the Band because that was O-Town.
Right.
I don't remember what their name was, but who knows? All I remember is Dylon, and Dylon.
I was just waiting for one of us to say it. You beat me to it, but it's all good.
But, I think that's just everyone knows that. Even most recently, Mace just last year was either during the pandemic or right before the pandemic, called out Diddy on Instagram because he was like, "Yo, I've asked you for my masters, for my stuff. I've told you I'm going to pay this money. You're not doing it. Like, come on, bro. You can't be talking about corporate America and you're treating your other Black artists like this." So the internet really kind of was getting in on him. And I want to tell you the memes. I wish we could have like a virtual reality thing where the memes could just flash on the people's screens.
Yes, because there's nothing worse than, and I'm not even making a joke about this. This is actually one of my pet peeves when people try to explain to me a visual meme. Like, it's just like, what you gotta understand, it's funny because it's Spider-Man's looking at each other, but it's Diddy's face over. Like, thank you. I would have gotten the joke in 1 second if I saw it. Thank you for wasting 20 seconds of my life.
That's probably that meme is probably the only one that you could kind of describe just because everyone's seen it, but majority of the time, they suck.
Yeah.
But everyone was kind of going on him about that. Rightfully so, because Diddy, the pot is definitely calling the kettle a name.
I thought you were about to say the N-word. I was like, holy shit. Because of that quick...
Do I ever say that?
No, you don't. That's why I was surprised.
Oh, shit. This is a super side note, but kind of related to what you said about the N-word. Kylie Irving just got fined because he got into a fight with another Black basketball player, and I don't remember his name, because he called him... The guy called Kyrie Irving an N-word. He was like, "I'm not an N-word." He had his whole thing, and then he had a whole tirade. Well, not a tirade, a rant, a loud musing on social media. Which I appreciate it.
I'm gonna have to look into that. But this is what I will say. I think there's a larger within what Diddy was saying. There is a larger discussion that should be had in which we talk about. Because on some level, he's absolutely right.
Oh, yeah.
These corporations will not put money into like Black media, or they use us for advertising purposes to sell stuff to us, and yet that percentage of what they're trying to sell to us is not then reinvested into like media or what have you.
Yeah.
So there is a larger accountability sort of discussion that can be had. It maybe shouldn't have been Diddy to bring up these points and whatnot, or at the very least, Diddy should know what's coming if you're gonna do something like that.
I think it's like for any Black billionaire or someone who is making like multi-million, if you're making more than like $25 million a year, or like if you're a Black capitalist, I think that these conversations you got to sit out.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that,
although with what platform should be actually saying any of these?
I don't think really, unless you're like the owner of some nonprofit that gets grants to give money to people or something like that, like a charity or whatever. I think it's very difficult for someone who is a business person because within our late stage of capitalism, you're not making that much money, like millions and millions and billions of dollars without being exploitative, even if you don't mean to.
Yeah.
Like, if Ivy Park, do I believe that Beyonce wants to be exploitative with that? No, I don't think she does. But she's being used she's selling it through Adidas. Does Adidas have sweatshops or sweatshop-esque places around the world?
Probably.
Yes. And so it's kind of like you can't make that money with these huge corporations without also being just as, or not just as, but being complicit.
Yeah, of course.
In kind of what's happening. And so I think that's why a lot of celebrities who make so much money, or famous people or whatever, they're giving a lot of their money back in different ways.
Yes.
Because Beyonce, yes, she has Ivy Park. She makes so much money from that. But also she constantly is like giving away money throughout the pandemic. She's had so much for small business owners, for people with their mortgages and rents and everything.
Yeah.
So you could see, even if it's just like you're kind of working within the structure, she can say, yeah, we need to call these people out because these places do need to be making sure that money is going into the hands of the creators. And many of these creators in the culture are Black people. TikTok wouldn't be TikTok without Black people. Neither would Clubhouse, Twitter, Instagram, none of the social media platforms. So saying, yeah, he could call them out, but I
understand
he
that
needs to also do some accountability on his part. Because you can't say pay Black people, but you're not paying Black people.
Right. I in that I definitely can agree with you on. Yeah, it's all about accountability. If you're gonna bring something up, then look at yourself in the mirror. Although the fact that we're even having this discussion, and that it's because he did use his platform to bring this up, and yeah, we're talking about him too, but we're also having this conversation on a larger sense. I would say on some level there was maybe some success.
Yeah, that's true. And speaking of accountability, this is the last thing I want to talk about really quick.
Yeah.
We talked about The Talk, the TV show.
Yes.
Now they've returned because they had like a super long hiatus after Sharon Osbourne wanted to yell at Cheryl Underwood and Elaine Wentworth about teaching her about racism after the Piers Morgan incident.
Yeah.
Well, they're back. What's your face? Osbourne's gone. They had this whole panel with the moderator was Donald E. Grant. He focuses on equity and justice, and he was just asking them questions about like the investigation about like racism in the workplace. And I thought it was really interesting. I'm going to read you what Cheryl Underwood and Elaine Welter Roth said. Underwood said, "It's difficult to go back to that day just because I feel the trauma." And she said she didn't want to come across as the angry Black woman, of course. And she, began to tear up because she was just really a lot of frustration. And Welter Roth was just like, there's walking a tightrope that Black women are always walking the entire day in the workplace. And I'm glad they were able to talk about how they felt and kind of get, I don't know if it's closure, but at least be able to say like why it was so ridiculous that they even allowed this to happen as long as it went on, because it wasn't new. This wasn't her first time having a meltdown, not on camera, but even off camera. She's had so many complaints against her that the CBS was kind of just like whatever. But I think now they can't. Nobody can actually do that just because everyone's like so heightened.
Yeah, look, man. Stop being dicks. Period. Point blank. Guys, if you're white, don't do it. Knock it off. I'm not trying to help y'all out. Fuck y'all. Y'all ain't even gonna listen to me anyway. Like you're actually gonna take this advice. Fuck them. Anyhow, and sorry, I really have spent so long not cursing that it feels like it's now just coming out. I will be mindful because I don't work blue. You know what I mean, Odie? I don't work blue. I'm actually kind of, speaking of blue, I'm a little down. Need some serotonin. You want to take a quick break?
We're going to have to work on somebody's transitions.
Yeah, yours.
And theirs. Just remember that I am a mirror to you, and you are a mirror to me.
Damn right.
So,
Yes.
but yeah, I'm thirsty. Actually, I want some water.
Right. Okay. Let us go.
BRB.
You're listening to the Black and Snurdy Podcast. You're listening to the Black and Snurdy Podcast.
Bling bling. You know what? I actually feel like I should just like, as a tribute to DMX, just start barking.
Please don't.
Like, obviously not out and about and in the streets and stuff, but just with my close friends.
I don't want that.
Like, just randomly, without even saying, like, you wouldn't even know it. You know what I mean?
I would know it.
Well, would you? You know, I've just set up a Chekhov's gun, right? Anywho, it's back. We're back. Hydrated. Feeling good.
Feeling great. How are you?
You know what? Wasn't feeling that great earlier today. For the listeners, I'm not sure what happened, but I was very, very sick and ended up having to spend a little bit too much time in the restroom for barf and vomit reasons. So,
I don't know if our listeners were
like, I just
super interested in that tidbit.
I want them to know that I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a pretty good segue into
it is. So
you're welcome.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Thank you. Last week, I said that we were going to do another quiz because you know how I love those.
Yes, you do.
And this one was the Dark Triad Personality Quiz.
Mm-hmm.
So the Dark Triad personality traits are 3 closely related yet independent personality traits that all have a somewhat malevolent connotation.
Mm-hmm.
The traits are Machiavellism,
Yep.
which is a manipulative attitude, narcissism,
Mm-hmm.
excessive self-love, and psychopathy, which is the lack of empathy. So this test is basically supposed to see, what are you on this scale? And it was the short Dark Triad quiz was developed in 2011 by Delroy Paulhouse and Daniel Jones to provide a uniform assessment of kind of this information. Now, where we took this is not like a psychological tool. It's more like educational purposes, so you can understand.
Yeah.
But we did an open source psychometrics project. They have a lot of cool quizzes that I love to take. And we took this quiz, and we're going to read our results. And I want you to go first.
Okay. Well, and just for the record, the scale when you get your results, it essentially is from 0 to 4. The higher the number, the more of that trait you have, and the lower the number, the less of that trait that you have. And of course, the traits that were being tested were narcissism, Machiavellism, and psychopathy. So when it comes to your boy Maurice, as far as narcissism, I'm a 2.8. And as far as Machiavellianism, this one is actually kind of surprising, 2.7. And psychopathy, 1.4.
All right.
Honestly, I'm surprised that the narcissism and the Machiavellian is kind of low, because like that's essentially like closer to half. In the percentile, like 51% of like regular people have like scored the same as me, and about 46% like scored the same as me as far as like Machiavellian. So like I guess that in that regard is like average. Although 9% score psychopathy with a 1.4, I'm assuming most people are closer to 0.
No, that's not true. What was your percentage of
9? I just said it. It's
9%.
9%.
Oh, yeah, no, I feel like that one is good. The lower for that one, the better.
That's literally is what I said.
Yeah, but you said that you could imagine that most people are closer to 0, but I don't think most people are closer to 0.
Okay, well, I'm a 1.4.
People, can you please respond with your numbers? Thank you.
Yes. Put them on the internet. Let everyone see how evil you are.
Email us or tweet us or Facebook us or whatever. Just tell us your scores.
Yeah.
So for me, for the narcissism, I have 3.3, which is 78th percentile of people who have the same test scores as me. Machiavellianism is 3, with 62%. I'm in the 62 percentile. And psychopathy, 1.8 at the 15th percentile.
So here's what I find fascinating. In all of these scores, you scored higher than me.
I did.
On each and every one of them. I thought that, guys, this is me. I'm leveling with you. Of the two of us, realistically, who would you say is more narcissistic? Come on, right? It would be me. I'm not knocking myself. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or anything like that. You learn to be self-aware. But, I think if I'm thinking about it a little bit more, you do practice a lot of like self-care and you light sage and, pour oils and unctions all over you and whatnot. So in that regard, yes, maybe your narcissism score should be a little bit higher. So that makes sense.
I'm going to read a little bit more about what the score says. So it says, narcissism is an egotistical preoccupation with self.
Yeah.
Because of all their experience with maintaining their self-image, people who score high for narcissism will often appear charming, but their narcissism will later lead to extreme difficulty in developing close relationships. And then...
no, real quick, what was your score for narcissism again?
3.3.
Mine was 2.8.
That is a big jump.
Yes, it is.
For Machiavellianism is a tendency to be manipulative and deceitful. It usually stems from lack of respect or disillusionment for others.
I got a 2.7 again. What did you get?
I got a 3. That one's not that big of a jump. And psychopathy reflects shallow emotional responses. The relative lack of emotions results in high stress tolerance, low empathy, little guilt, and leads them to seek extremely stimulating activities, resulting in impulsivity and a disposition towards interpersonal conflict.
And what did you get again?
1.8.
I got a 1.4. And there you go, everybody. You're evil. You're more evil than me.
I'm the evil twin.
Yeah, of the two of us.
I'm the evil twin.
And that is what we learned from that quiz. That Odie is more evil.
I like these quizzes just because I feel like sometimes I could say, now I'm going to say this to myself.
Sure.
Or about myself. I know that although I score high on these things, like I know that I love myself.
Yes.
But I also know that I don't know if that's nature or nurture or whatever, that as much as I would like to be manipulative, to have things always go my way, or for everyone to constantly just like bow down to me and be in control, I recognize that I'm not the only person here in this world, that the sun does not revolve around me, and I have to, be flexible and acquiesce. Now, that is my outward feelings. Inside my brain,
there we go.
I'm never going to lie
of course.
and say a majority of the time, the first thing that, like, if I am at an ice cream party, and
your examples, I swear,
I
love
ice cream.
Keep going.
If I'm at an ice cream party,
31 years old.
Yeah, because I fucking love ice cream.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
The most common party in the world, of course.
Who doesn't want to have an ice cream party? If you have an ice cream party right now, you're getting all the RSVPs.
This is why your psychopathy is so high.
Anyway, if I'm at an ice cream party and I know that somebody is allergic to almonds, right? But I fucking love almonds. And then the person was like, "Oh, you can only get Rocky Road with all these other almond and delicious treats like together. You can't get it like separately." And it's like either all ice cream has to have almonds or none of the ice cream have almonds. In my head, I'm like, "Well, fuck that person. They just can't eat ice cream, I guess." But in reality, I'm like, "No, I want everyone to be able to enjoy themselves. Please have the thing that we can all eat. That's my way of thinking. On the first thought, I'm going to want to choose myself. And there are times where I am going to choose myself. There are times where you have to be narcissistic or selfish, and that's okay. But I think that even with the narcissism, you have to understand like when there, or not narcissism, with anything, you have to understand when to say, this is something that I have to do for the greater good of all, and when to say there's something that's like for me. Same with manipulating. Like, I don't think that anyone doesn't manipulate. Some people, it comes easier to others because however you can schmooze better. But you have to know when you're doing it and why you're doing it. If I'm going to manipulate someone into giving a whole bunch of money to the sloth sanctuary in Costa Rica, sure. Am I going to manipulate someone so that I can get the money for the fake sloth sanctuary and use it to buy a Teflon bag? No, because that would be evil. So
I want our wiki to keep track of all these examples that you give. And quite frankly, I just chalk up that your numbers are higher than mine because you grew up in New York. So that's the result of our quiz.
And okay, next week, I want you all to look up the Big 5 personality test. Because we're going to take it and we're going to share it. And I want to know your numbers.
And we will explain what that is next week.
Yeah, because you could just literally just go up there and search Big Personality Test. It's on the open psychometrics.org.
Yes.
If you want to take it there, but literally you could just Google it.
Yeah, don't worry. Y'all can find it. You'll be able to find it. Anyhow, I think it's time. You know what time it is. I'm your pusher.
No,
I'm your pusher.
We forgot one big thing.
Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. You know what? Something happened this week that was so on my mind that I forgot our mental health check-in.
Yeah. How was your mental health?
I actually weirdly thought that the quiz was the mental health check-in.
No, that's just like a thing that we're doing, and then we're going to also have a mental health check-in.
Wow. That's a conversation we're gonna have later. Anyhow, as far as this week, I was not feeling great. I don't mean that in a sort of negative way. I had my therapy session. I have some anxieties. For those who don't know, my birthday is coming up, and I think the extra sort of jitters and anxiety is specifically to do with this party that is currently being planned. It's a small little get together, so we're not just like coughing COVID into each other's mouth or anything like that. And it's the first time that I'm gonna be in a situation or a scenario with more than one other person or more than two other people. There's gonna be essentially just 7 of us, I believe. Yes, 7 of us, but the added extra energy that I have is definitely something that I need to be more mindful of as the days go by. But yeah, I definitely had a bit of an adverse effect, talking that out with my therapist. And I, as the days continue to pass, just gonna have to do more breathing, just be mindful. It's okay. It's some anxieties, but now that I know what it is, I know how to handle it.
Well, I'm glad that you had that moment to work through that, because that's the point of having therapy.
I mean, I'm still working through it, but yes.
But at least you have you have the skills, you have the tools, and you're using them. For me, I'm doing pretty good. My therapist is back from vacation.
Congratulations.
And that was great. But okay, so we were talking, and she and I, when I initially reached out to her 2 or 3 years ago, I had asked her about cognitive behavioral therapy because that helps with executive function disorder and working memory, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And so she doesn't do that, but I was like, well, I want to just see how it goes. I really like your vibe, and we can talk about things, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
She's not specifically for ADHD, but she does a lot of things with anxiety, depression, that for me, I have found really helpful within these last 2 years. And we've been really making a lot of progress. And so she mentioned to me, because the other day, when we were talking, I had a bit of a breakdown. I was crying because sometimes it's really frustrating being neurodivergent in a neurotypical world.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were talking about that, and she brought up that, cognitive behavioral therapy again, because she wants me to be able to level up.
Yes.
And so she found somebody that she said I could work with, but then she told me that if I was working with this other person, that she and I would no longer work together.
Mm-hmm.
And that really fucked me up.
Yeah.
Because one, I don't like change.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I really love my therapist. She's really dope. She's really smart. Like, she just feels like an auntie. Like, I love our chemistry and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that has me a little bit bummed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that with the CBT, that it has a possibility of really doing well.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm just like, well, what happens if I don't really love this woman? Like, am I going to be able to get my old therapist back, or I'm going to have to go find someone? Like, it's like a...
Mm-hmm. I understand. If it's okay, and I want to just be as respectful as possible, it's completely understandable for you to like have all of this sort of reservation and sadness, and it's a situation where like you've grown to know this person. I relatively recently had a sort of switch over from one therapist to another, and the way that we spoke about it is like, this is somebody who, it's the end of a relationship. This is somebody who has been in your life, who has been in your schedule, on a relative like specific basis all the time, there, and now there's this end of this chapter. However, and it's okay to mourn that. That's the main point that I'm trying to get. It's okay to mourn the end of any sort of dynamic, that some relationship or whatnot. I have to believe, though, and there's the positive side of this. One, I have to believe that you worked together with this therapist for so long that she would not recommend something that would be adverse to you or whatnot. Two, like she said, leveling up. It's progress. And then I think the third one is like cognitive behavioral therapy. That's what you initially wanted when you went there. So it's okay if it's time to get the thing that you wanted initially.
It's true. I just love her, but she'll be in my heart forever.
Yes.
So that's how I'm doing this week. Now,
I'm again didn't want to be disrespectful, but as soon as you said that, all I could think of was that Phil Collins song from the Tarzan movie.
I know. Now,
I know her. Okay. Anyhow.
So,
what's grinding you, man?
What's grinding me? Oh well. There's some things.
Oh boy.
So this week, unfortunately, there was another police shooting.
Yes.
Dante Wright, 20 years old, in Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis, was shot. And I want to say, when I was reading the New York Times, it's really close. He was shot not too far from where, like maybe 30 minutes from where George Floyd was shot. The trial for Derek Chauvin, whatever his stupid name is, currently going on. It was a woman police officer. Her name has not been released as of yet because I didn't see it in the New York Times article. But what grinds my gears is the responses about this from like officials. And I just want to read you this one thing from our main official, Mr. President Moneybags Joe. We do know that the anger and pain and trauma amidst the Black community is real. In the meantime, I want to make it clear again, there is absolutely no justification, none, for looting, no justification for violence, peaceful protest, understandable. And that, for me, it just pisses me off. And then also the fact that they put a curfew in Minneapolis, in that area right now, for 7 p.m. And today, I believe tomorrow is when, the April 13th, Ramadan begins. And in that area is a very highly Muslim area. So now you're putting this curfew in where people who are supposed to be going to their house of worship and doing their, their cultural practices can't go, Why? Because a police officer, now, they did not say it was, I haven't seen her face.
Mm-hmm.
I personally didn't know it was a woman until I read the New York Times article.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if she's a white woman, black woman, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know
She's a cop.
She's a cop,
Mm-hmm.
and the police department is saying, oh, she thought it was a taser. Because in the video, I didn't watch the video, but in the video, she yells, taser, taser, but grabs her gun. And this is my thing. If you have a job that is very, very important and possibly dangerous, I feel like if you can't tell the difference between your taser and a gun, you should not have that job. If I'm a pilot and there's one button to cause us to nosedive or a button to blow off the engine, I should know which one that is when I'm pressing the buttons for us to land or take off or whatever the case may be. If I couldn't pass that test in pre-flight test and whatever school, you're not going to let me in the air. But you're going to let someone who doesn't know the difference between a gun and a taser, and even if you didn't know the difference between a gun and a taser, the man was in his car. You're stopping him for air fresheners. He still, in that point, shouldn't have even been tased. Like, we just saw that Army officer this past weekend, thankfully alive, but being pepper sprayed by the police officers. Again, doing nothing. He was in his Army fatigues. He's an Army medic. So it's like you have these things constantly happening, and these police departments keep putting these narratives of like, oh, it wasn't their fault. They were nervous. They were scared. Your job is a scary job.
I really hope that alarm of sirens is not picking up in the audio, because it would really bother me if, as we're undressing and dressing down fucking cops, if that just so happens to be in our background as some sort of weird ass sign.
Well,
for me, fuck the police, but I'm sorry that I interrupted.
No, that was it. I'm just really upset. And I'm going to say, if this is a white woman, that they're going to go even extra hard on she was nervous because this black man, the same way they did with Botham Jean's murder, when they kept trying to say that this white woman who went to a totally different floor in her apartment building didn't know where she was and just was shooting. Like, every time what was the man who the racist terrorist who shot up the spies in Atlanta? Oh, he's having a bad day. Now, didn't know the difference between a gun and a taser. Well, apparently you need to rethink all of the training that you're doing. If someone who is supposed to be trained to stop violent criminals is so nervous that they can't stop a car without tasing and or shooting someone. 20 years old, a beautiful baby, and they're doing a GoFundMe for his girlfriend. We'll put that in the show notes. Please send her money for the baby. Like, they're gonna need so much. And honestly, I don't care if the government or the police department gives her $50 million. Because they just gave George Floyd's family that just got the settlement? We don't need any more settlements. We need people to be alive. Because that's what she wants. Yeah, okay, money's good. Her son could go to school, whatever school he wants to go to, but she would much rather have her son's father there to help raise her child versus having to figure out what she's going to tell this baby when he grows up and is wondering, where is my daddy? So that's what's grinding my gears. Joe Biden, you need to do better, because we weren't the ones looting the Capitol and breaking shit and killing people. And even if someone's looting, who cares if someone breaks up a CVS or a Rite Aid when people are still alive at the end of the day? Because businesses have insurance. So you burn down a business, they're going to get the money. You shoot a random person on the street and you have a badge, who's going to get the money? The police officers, because they always seem to end up on paid leave and get their pensions. Like, I don't know what we need to do, what needs to change to figure that out, but it's just that's it. That's it. I can't. I will take up the whole time yelling because I'm annoyed.
Yeah. And honestly, this is not the first time that something like this has happened and has been discussed on the podcast. And sadly, it's an evergreen thing. Rest in power to this man. Cops are copping. The media's gonna media. Fuck the police. As for me, as far as what is grinding, first off, what you just said, I'm just gonna incorporate that as well. But also, what was on my mind that got me really riled up, they released the photos for the Powerpuff Girl reboot. These are fucking teens. They're, no, not even teens. They're like, this is, boy, oh boy, they're going the Riverdale route with the Powerpuff Girls. Live action CW bullshit with the Powerpuff Girls. The Powerpuff Girls who are in preschool.
Yeah.
Just the costumes, the actresses, you know, it's for somebody who is a animated connoisseur, animation enthusiast, Craig McCracken, the creator of the original Powerpuff Girls, it just infuriated me just seeing that now it's just another, we're gonna take a property that is beloved by all and we're just gonna add sexy teens and we're gonna make it like, oh, but my dad, Professor Utonium, you know, like it's gonna, I don't like it. And God, it's just something that's extremely unnecessary and it bothered me.
Yeah, the outfits are really stupid. I think they they would have done better if they made them more like modern outfits, like because they're supposed to be older teens or like early millennials or whatever.
Yeah.
Give them like a jumpsuit, like Bubbles is wearing her signature color, but like in like jeans and a top or something. Like this, it looks really weird, and I don't know how. I'm curious to see what it's going to look like when it actually comes on TV.
I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to support it.
I'm going to say I'm going to watch one episode just to see what it looks like.
I'm good. Y'all can keep it. And yeah, that's just what's grinding us this week. But you know what? We always like to end on a more positive note. So Odie, why don't you tell us what made you happy this week?
My apartment is clean.
Yes.
And this is something that is really big deal for me because like one of the traits about ADHD that really grinds my gears most is like the tidiness factor and the executive function and having clutter is they're not good together because then I'll just be sitting there trying to clean up for hours and I will actually be cleaning up for hours and then I finish and like nothing is done. But I had someone help me and it was really dope. I've asked for help before. I haven't really gotten it, not in that way. So I really appreciate them. It meant like a lot to me that someone would help me out to finish something because I've always been able to get my apartment to like 85% clean. This is the first time I've gotten to my apartment to 100% clean in the way that I want it. And now I can just do the regular maintenance that you would do during the week and not feel like stressed out because things are everywhere.
Yeah, that's good.
What about you?
Honestly, for me, this weekend was WrestleMania, y'all. I'm a huge fan of wrestling. I appreciate, I've been a fan for years. I dropped off in, my mid-20s because I was performing a lot and didn't have time to watch it. I rediscovered it during COVID, and I really, WrestleMania is the biggest, wrestling pay-per-view event of every single year. The build for it, quite frankly, leading up to it hasn't been the greatest, but the actual matches on there, with the exception of maybe one, were fantastic. So shout out to all of the performers, especially Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, the first women to headline WrestleMania, the first Black women to headline anything. It was amazing. And shout out to them. Okay. Whew. And that's what made us happy this week. I think I feel good. I think we should go in for the wrap.
Can you tell the people where they can find us?
Yes, you can find us literally at
Black and Snurdy Podcast.
Black and Snurdy Podcast on all of the things at Black and Snurdy Podcast Gmail. Literally, that's where you can find us.
And my stuff is That's OD on Instagram and all that.
Licorish is legit. That's it.
We're done.
Bye. Snurds and Feather flock together. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like to contact the podcast, you can reach us via email at blackandsnerdypodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Black and Snurdy Podcast, as well as on Twitter at Black and Snurdy. You can find me, Maurice, on all social media under the handle Licorish is Legit. That's LICORISH is legit.
And you can find me on Instagram. It's That's OD, THATSOD.E. And on Twitter, THATSOD_E. And don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe to us. Tune in next time to the Black and Snurdy Podcast, where snurds of a feather flock together.
Remember?
Bye.
Boy.
Not yet.
No, this is keeping it. We're keeping this in. Don't forget to take your meds and your subs and drink water. Bye.
Bye.
I actually want to keep that.